Alok. This is my friend Alok Ramsasaria. He's the CEO of Grazidi, and Grazidi is the parent company of Search Unify, which has been the sponsor of all of the ASP Best Support Websites activities for the last 2 years, and we hope we'll do it again next year. They also this year expanded their sponsorship of us to include the newsletter, and has enabled us to put on to add some interesting white papers and webinars on a lot of AI related things like large language modules. So large language module basically is like ChatGPT, if you don't know what that means. And that company, OpenAI, has a lot of stuff that is starting to be used in support. And Alok has been very generous, and also I can kind of consider him to be growing as a friend. I really appreciate his sense of humor a lot, and we tend to have good conversations. So, Alok, why don't you tell people just a little bit about Search Unify, and we don't have a lot of time for that, but maybe a quick short one, and then introduce our next site.
Sure. Thank you, Al. I think it's been our privilege that we can support all the good work you and all the pro bono work that the judges do in judging this and sharing this with the larger support community. We've been around for about 15 years at Grazidi, last 6 years as Search Unify, and Search Unify is a cognitive search platform which also leverages large language models. But I will just throw in a note of caution that large language models are exactly what they say they are. They're large language models. They're not support tools. So uh, with that small note of caution, I invite you to check out our website if you like and see some of the work we've done. As I'm very proud that one of our customers has also won an award this year, Automation Anywhere. But more than that, I think I'm very proud of all the work you guys do. Without much further ado, let me just switch over. And I think we have the final website from Smarsh, a leading SaaS company that has made its mark with the best customer support websites competition. And I also want to welcome a dear friend, Francois, uh, customer support service and support consultant, who I've had the privilege of knowing for the last few years. She's the founder of FT Works and dedicated to helping technology companies worldwide. Her book, Art of Support, is mandatory reading in our office, at least, and I'm sure everywhere else. It's an industry reference on running customer success and support organizations. She creates customer journeys, streamlines processes, teaches customer skills, and designs websites, and has been a judge for ASP for many years. So thank you, Francois. And we also welcome Amy Dotson from Smarsh, the Director of Digital Support. She's responsible for developing the strategy and leading the great team of people who execute those strategies for digital support across the globe. So her role extends to overseeing knowledge management and community platforms and deploying the strategies they develop for knowledge management and overseeing both social support and blogging programs. That's a
She's
lot of
also She also has been a judge for us in the past, not this year, but she's judged for us in the past.
Absolutely.
excellent.
So you two need to turn.
Yes.
I don't. Are they? Can you see their images? I don't.
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. Now for some reason I'm not. Go ahead. I'll come on.
All yours.
Thank you, Alok, for this very nice introduction. I appreciate it. So today, Amy and I are going to talk about the Smarsh website. I must say that this year I judged several sites, and I happened to also judge Cadence, which Arfin talked about yesterday. So that was another world, right? Because as you might have noticed, everybody, a lot of the winners are really big companies with very big, complex websites. And why is that? Well, it's because of the way our scoring works. Our scoring is additive. So the more features you have, the more you're trying to do, the more likely it is that you're going to accumulate those points, which eventually give you victory, right? So it's really hard to win when you're small. And therefore, I am extremely happy to talk about a site that is not one of the massive ones. I think we all had an interesting reaction to the Red Hat folks disclosing, the size of their team to be a couple hundred people. Amy will introduce herself in a moment, but that's not quite the numbers that we're talking about here, right? So I have kind of the opposite view, which is that you can do a great job with a small website. And I'm hoping that today we can really show you that it's possible. So why is that? Well, if you're small, for one thing, you're going to have less complications. So you're going to have fewer product lines. Siemens was just telling us, Bevin was just telling us that they have something like 350 products. Well, Smarsh does not, right? So it's going to be simpler right there. As a result, we're going to have fewer personas. People are going to use a smaller set of products. Peter, this morning, when he was presenting Red Hat, I love this presentation, very engaging, said, you did a great job at masking complexity. Well, if you're small, there's much less to mask, right? So it's a little bit easier that way, right? And then finally, I think there's this idea of cohesiveness. When you have a very large, very feature-full, feature-rich website, you will likely have all kinds of different backends in there that you're going to have to make behave in the same way, right, for the user. Rajat was talking to us yesterday about the NetApp site, and he said, well, sometimes I can see that, that you're using different backends. Well, small websites don't necessarily have that problem. So I think there's a wonderfulness about small websites because of the cohesiveness and the simplicity that's kind of built in. However, don't think that you don't have a rich set of features with small websites. And Amy eventually will talk about the product pages, which, yes, they are product pages in the Smarsh website. And she will also talk about user management, which is a rare feature in the simpler websites. So I think those are really on par with the more complex things that we've seen so far. The other thing that we will see, and we'll see it right away, is that with a small website, you can be much more nimble. I do not know whether my fellow judges for Smarsh are on this presentation, but I was surprised to see that what I remembered from the site was a little different from what we can see today. And that's really cool, right? Because changes can happen really, really quickly. So with that, Amy, let's start. I know you want to tell us a little bit about Smarsh and your team and all of that. So why don't you start with that, and then I will start talking about the website.
Okay, that sounds great. So Smarsh is a capture archive. We capture, archive, and manage electronic communications for regulatory compliance. So our industries that we work with is government, healthcare, the financial industry. And in terms of my team, I have two mighty people that work for me, although we have those are direct reports. I have a product owner, which is Steve Springer. He is on the call as well. And then I have somebody that manages all of our content through our KCS program, and that is Janine Deegan. I don't think she's on today. And then also under me is our support operations team, which is a team of one, but he does an awesome job, and it's great that he's on my team, because when we want to implement change with the leadership team or with the analysts, he helps us do that. So it's been great. But that said, we also have amazing relationships with our MIS team, our marketing team. So we have our support team, obviously. So we have very strong relationships. So even though I have two direct reports, I would say dotted line, it's endless. We have a lot of Smartians helping us out.
Wonderful. So let's dive in. By the way, for those of you who have followed all of the other presentation, you've noticed that the judge does the dive in. Amy and I decided that we would do it the other way, that Amy is going to actually show off the site, partly because, as I just mentioned, it changes all the time, and it's actually different from what I saw over the summer when I was judging the site. So I will serve as a gadfly and ask questions and highlight things that maybe Amy is not bragging about enough, in my opinion. So we will start with the landing page, which is where we are now. We will explore 4 other areas of the site. Of course, if you have questions at any time, just put them in the chat, and I will get to them at some point. So don't hold off. Just start asking right now. And with that, let's take a look at the landing page.
All right, you should be able to see my screen. Okay, excellent. So the landing page, so this has changed. What we really focused on last year were a couple things. One is adoption of the site, getting more people out there, but then also providing both a search and browse experience through product landing pages. So that was our big and onboarding. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So you can see on our homepage, we have a search and a browse experience. If you search here, it will search all of the content throughout the site. We do a federated search where we bring in content from our product docs portal as well as our training portal. And we also offer discussions and ideation. And then on the site, we provide a video tour so they can quickly navigate around or see a video to how to navigate around the site if they need it. And then it's super easy. You can just choose your product if you want a browse experience, and we'll take you to a product landing page. And always, we're asking for feedback on our site, which is a feedback option down at the bottom.
Quick question, Amy. So if I go to this site and it looks here like I'm an anonymous user, right? Would I have well, no, because you're logged in, I can see
Yeah.
that. So if I go as an anonymous user versus a logged in user, am I going to have a different experience? How does that work?
As of today, you have a very familiar experience both ways, which next year when you log in, you will not. But today, the only difference is if you log in, you have access to, you have single sign-on access to product docs, so it's seamless. You can go out to that portal, come back very easily. You have access to discussions and ideation, as well as some additional content. So the UI looks the same, but your experience is different in terms of content.
Okay. Wonderful. So I know that you want to show us the browsing, the product pages, right? Is that what's next on our docket here?
Yep. So this is all new. So prior to last year, it was just a search experience, and you could use filters on the left-hand side. What we focused on last year was to provide a bit more personalized. You choose your product, you can get information just on that product. So, and again, it's a team sport. So all of the different news and updates, this is all managed by our marketing team, and they have access to go in and change this out with blogs or any webinars that are coming up. So they manage this. And
so
then,
that's done manually then?
It is done
Amy?
manually. All of this is manually curated today. Yeah.
So I want to point out to everybody who's listening to us, right? These are the kinds of things that we can do when we're smaller. Right? We can do things manually, and it's not overwhelming. It's possible. We can do this, right? And then the second thing I want to point out, because I don't think Amy is going to brag about it enough, is that it's a wonderful site that has a lot of things that are non-support. So here she's showing us some marketing stuff. Later on, she's going to show some training and services content. And that is just miraculous, right? Everything looks like it behaves together properly, right? And that's one of the things that we can achieve in a smaller environment, which to you, Amy, might seem, well, it's normal. Of course, marketing is going to help us. Well, it's still a big victory, right, to do that.
We are, starting next year, we're really going to be branding internally this site and externally as this is the Smarsh community. It is not a support community. So you're going to come here for Smarsh information, not just support information. And so that's part of our transformation that we're going to kick off next year. Our help articles under Smarsh Docs, this is managed by our product docs team. And then knowledge articles, this is managed by our, we're a KCS shop like most of the winners. Our KDEs help us manage what content they want to highlight. Again, this is right now manually curated. And then we have a great relationship with our training team. These are the different learning paths our customers can take for their particular product. And then we have easy access to ideation and our discussions group here.
So this is really a one-stop shop, right? If I have this particular product, professional archive, right? Here is everything that I could possibly need about it, right?
Correct. Yes.
Lovely. Okay, so I know you put a lot of work into browsing, right? But you also have a search. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you search?
Yeah, you can search. So again, I mean, everything is a work in progress. And I think anybody that presented over the last couple of days will tell you there's always so much work to be done. But currently, if you can search just like any other site, it brings back content from multiple different sources using our federated search. You can also, if you want, filter. And another thing we do with our search is I hate the words cross-sell, upsell because it sounds salesy, but really what it is it's more around, we want to do a soft sell in the areas of their point of need. So if they're trying to figure out how to import their missing data or import historical data, we always provide them an opportunity to provide us an opportunity to say, hey, if you don't want to do this, we got you back. We can do it for you. And we do some cross-selling down here where they can click on learn more and fill out a quick form, submit it, and we'll reach out and actually import data for them if they're interested.
So this is another example, right, of integration of all the different services throughout the site. And I must say, when I work with clients, the number one issue is how do we work well with the other silos, right? So that it looks like one to a customer. Amy is being very careful about, well, we don't want to be too pushy. This is not pushy. This is, you asked me a question about importing data. Maybe you need our help to do that. Here it is, right? And that's something that I rarely see. This is integrated in the knowledge base article, right? So I think it's really cool.
Yep, and we're going to, in the future, we're going to have a nice little recommended section up here where we're going to say, hey, if you're looking at this, here's a great training course you can take that'll teach you how to do it, or we can do it for you. So it'll be a bit more user-friendly and easier to find.
And right now, the integration only goes so far, right? I mean, you told me you fill out a form, right? But you can't actually buy online or anything like that. But one day it may happen, right? Yeah.
Correct. The next year you're going to see a very new site where it's going to be much more personalized. We know who you are. You don't have to fill out a form. We're going to submit it to your outcome management rep, and they're going to personally call you and say, hey, what can we do for you? So, anytime we can make it easier for the customer, less clicks, we're all there for it. And notice we don't hide create a case or chat with support. We want to reward you. If you're searching, we want to reward you with an easy way to contact us if you don't find your answer. Just encourage you to go out there and use it more and know when you do that, we will reward you and make it super easy to get assisted support if you need it.
This is a great soundbite, right? We want to reward you if you search. Remember that, everybody who wants to hide the create a case, right? That's really counterproductive, I think.
Because they'll find it.
Okay, wonderful. So do you want to talk about onboarding? That's one of those things that's very special on this site?
Yeah, and these are just this is a test user account, but what we wanted to do is one of our struggles, and this was the solution to it, is customers not doing all of the onboarding tasks that they needed to do to be successful to set up an archive. And so what we did is we came up with a task board. And so when they come out to their onboarding, this is everything that they need to do, right? And then once they complete it, we move other things to the to-do list for them. And we also reward them. Hey, you get to a certain point of your onboarding, go have a cup of coffee on us, relax, come back, and let's get some more work done. So this is what the experience, we wanted to get it out quickly. We were able to do that last year. Next year, our goal is to have all of this in product. So when they sign in, all of their task list is going to be right there at their fingertips when they're in the product.
So I understand that you're moving to the product, right? Did you do it on the website this year because it was the fastest way to do it? Or did you do it because you can try it out, right? Test it. And then once it works, you can put it in the product. What was the rationale then?
I would say it's a little of both, but more the latter, right? Mm-hmm. We wanted to make sure this is something that people would use. And what's awesome about it is, if they were to click on one of these tiles, anytime they could come in, if they don't know what to do here or they have an issue, anytime they could come in here, click on the case and add a comment on the case. So a rep could go out and ask them and get them unstuck so they can keep moving on it. So this was a fast way to do it on Smarsh Central. It's also a really great way to introduce them to Smarsh Central on the onboarding process. Smarsh Central, we want that to be the place to go, not only if you need help, but also if you want to learn or get more information about the product.
This is another thing that is interesting to note is the idea that there's a brand, right? Smarsh Central, there is a little icon and a little special font, etc., right? So we know where we are. And I love the fact that you introduced that during the onboarding, because eventually we will stop holding your hand, right? You need to grow up and go to Smarsh Central on your own, right?
Correct.
Cool. Very cool. By the way, just a reminder to everybody, keep adding your questions in the chat and we will answer them.
Okay, so hang on just a second. I want to make sure you're taking those and I'm not going to have to queue them up for you.
I'm sorry, Al, I don't understand what.
Oh, so Françoise, are you going to read the comments and questions, or you want me to give them?
I am not seeing any questions on my end.
So we have a first of all, there was a comment a little bit ago from Christine Bryan from Red Hat, who said that you have to start manual, or else you don't know what to automate. If you automate too early, you end up automating the wrong stuff. So that was a few minutes ago. But then Steve Burry, who's the judge that we just heard from, says, are you building your own end product experience, or are you using a third-party solution? If third-party, would you be willing to share who it is?
We are, that is a great question. We're deciding what direction we're going to take. We are, there is a software, I'm not endorsing this, but if you want to explore it, feel free to do it. It's a company called Enablix that offers an in-product experience, but we're actually going to be evaluating 3 different vendors to see what offers the best, or, do we want to do it ourselves? So we're still in that evaluation process. In fact, Steve and I just wrapped up the use cases that we're going to have vendors walk through this week. So we're still evaluating. Okay,
that's all the questions for now.
Great question.
Thank you. Thank you, Al. And I can see them now. I needed to refresh. All right. So, Amy, you were about to show us, I think, support rights. Is that our next thing on the docket?
So our support rights, again, this is always solving problems that we have, right? So if customers want to change the rights of people within their organization, rather than having to call us, what we've done is when we onboard a customer, each customer has an admin on their staff. Basically, they work for their company, but they're a Smarsh admin, and they have admin support rights. And what they can do is they can manage this. Again, this is a fake test account, but they can manage everybody in their organization. So they can add new users and then offer the appropriate support rights for their users. And then in addition to that, they can also manage their training seats. And so they can remove seats from people. They can assign seats to the people in their organization pretty easy without ever having to call us.
So this is a pretty sophisticated feature, right, that we don't usually see in smaller sites. And that's why I wanted to highlight it, that we are doing, first of all, we're giving customers the power, which is great, right? And secondly, if we do it this way, then we have a better chance that they will actually do it right. Yes. Because they don't want people who are no longer with the company to have access, right? So the power is in their hands, and you are transferring basically the responsibility of keeping things clean to the customer, which I think is super, super nice. And I love what, again, the integration with training. By the way, for people who don't know me, my first career was in training. So anything you do with training, I'm like, yeah, let's continue. So very cool feature for, a site that, is not one of the large ones. Really, really love that. Yeah. Okay. So Amy, you mentioned several times, next year we're going to do this, next year we're going to do that. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what we can look forward to?
Well, we have, to be honest, Q4 has been dedicated to figuring out our 2024 and beyond strategy. And so we've been doing tons of work. We met in person for a week, and we continue this work all throughout this quarter. So we do have, what we have is our value drivers. This is the strategy deck. So this is just really anything and everything that we do is going to, it's going to have to feed into these different value drivers. In-product help is a big value driver for us. Our focus next year and beyond will be in product, creating a vibrant community. That's that lead generation, which I saw some great examples this last couple of days on some ideas around this. Self-service success. So for me, we have success in the product, which really our product docs team currently today is focused on putting content in the product. We have teamed up with them, and this is going to be a joint effort in making sure that we have success in the product together. And so when we do self-service success, it's not just on our support side, it's also are we successful on our support side in the product via the bot. So we're going to be looking at it holistically. And then personalized journey is huge. And then low effort assisted support, again, rewarding them for using self-service by providing them an easy access to assisted, but then not making them repeat themselves. So we know what you've done on the site. We're going to not only offer you assisted support, but we're going to recommend the channel based on your issue type. So we're working on that and a lot of work so we can do that around taxonomy, search, and making sure we have optimum content.
So this is the second time today that we hear taxonomy as a big theme. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that means for you?
Yes, I have Steve Springer here, so he is leading our taxonomy effort. So Steve, you want to talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing to make sure we have the best taxonomy and what benefits we think we're going to see from it?
Sure. I love the quote from earlier. I think it was Christine who said the three hardest things in technology are naming things and counting. She's absolutely right. So taxonomy and search and content kind of all work together to provide the infrastructure by which you can do cool stuff, like provide a personalized experience, recommend the appropriate channel for someone to be able to resolve their issue in the most efficient manner, analyze content in common buckets so that you can learn about things like your content gaps. You can find out where you may have skill gaps. You can provide expert services based on the expertise within your organization. So while we do name things a certain way today, to develop some of these next level capabilities, we need to do more. We need to be better at classification and attribution of our content, not just support content, but when I say content, I mean articles, cases, discussions, training, and if we're able to pull it off, people. And all these things combined together through that common thread of classification taxonomy are going to be essential for us to be able to provide sort of those next level services, like recommending an add-on product or a particular training module for someone who's looking at an article with a particular context. Personalizing the experience based on your persona and the role you perform within your company or within your industry. So that part is very critical to our coming annual goals for the site and the site development.
So again, Steve, this is not just, what we do in support, maybe with knowledge-based articles or whatever. This is much more expansive, right?
It's how we serve the needs of our customer. And the needs of our customer are not always technical. Sometimes they are, I need a service that the product I bought doesn't provide. Oh, well, we actually provide that service as an add-on, or we have expertise within the organization to be able to provide that service to you. These kinds of things, they're not all just traditional technical support, like you call someone, you say, oh, I need to reset my password, or whatever, whatever the traditional low-hanging fruit is in support. It stretches so far beyond that the expectation of the customer goes further than just technical things. So if we're able to combine the non-technical things, like Amy mentioned earlier, we want to brand the site. We want to provide services on the site that go beyond support and services. It's really the community that Smarsh customers, people who own Smarsh products, come to get whatever resolves the question or the need that they have.
So how do you go about creating that? Or I mean, I'm sure you have a taxonomy already, right? You're just trying to improve it, right?
We do. We do.
I mean, do you have a team doing this? Do you see yourself as kind of the center of a large wheel? I mean, how does that work, right?
So we do have a team, but in a very small company, sometimes the team is a very small number, like one. However, Amy mentioned earlier that we have great relationships across different parts of the organization. And while the effort may start with a team of one, it expands throughout subject matter experts that exist in other areas. And those are people who actually deal directly with customers, who perform casework duties, who have a hand in maybe the training material, the way we market our products. All of these individuals are going to be engaged in this process so that we have sort of a whole team effort, a whole company effort towards providing the whole company experience that we want to within this site.
So how do you, I'm trying to figure out the nitty-gritty of actually doing the work, right? Do you have workshops with these people? Do you have a common workspace? How do you make sure that people really are productive together?
So it starts with data analysis, because you can't really do anything right unless you know what has happened before and how to improve on it. And that data analysis comes from the core, and the core of providing support is the case. So when you handle an issue, it gets recorded in a certain manner. You use certain language. Your customers use certain language. So analyzing the language and as part of the cases that you have handled and resolved gives you a lot of information about the terminology that you should be using, particularly in customer language, if you're going to ask customers to engage with you with
It's a very
this
KCS way to go, right? You use the
Absolutely.
customer's language, right? Yeah.
I'm a very strong advocate of the KCS model in many areas, not only customer language, but also the measurement, how you actually measure self-service success. So from the customer language perspective, if you're going to ask a customer when they create a case to select a category for that case so that they can produce relevant material to resolve it, you have to understand how the customer is going to present an issue to you. And that comes from analyzing the manner in which they've presented issues to you in the past. So that's where it starts. It starts with an analysis. We're looking at an entire year of case resolutions, of case descriptions, of language that the customer has used with us when they record a case. Out of that, we generate a recommended taxonomy using terminology that we find in these notes, the way customers have described their issues to us, and some of the internal language that we use as well. And that's the marketing part, right? What we call our product is really important. What we have called our products in the past is equally important. Somebody mentioned that earlier in a presentation. You have to sort of harken back to that history because
the legacy is important. Yeah.
They use previous brand language, right? Once we have this recommended architecture, we share that with the stakeholders that are going to help us vet and improve this list of terms and the hierarchy itself. Are we using the right terms? Are they positioned correctly? Are they using the right language? And are we missing anything? Through the case analysis, not everybody is great at taking notes.
Shocking.
So sometimes the analysis provides you sort of what you think is the direction you want to go, but it's the subject matter expertise from the individuals who deal directly with the customer, who have more information than you may be able to tell from the data. And so we'll have them refine this list, either by taking terms out, hey, we don't use that anymore, customers don't call it that anymore, or restructuring where something is positioned within the hierarchy so it's categorically findable. Findability is important. Or adding stuff that we may have missed because it's not recorded in the data.
And you are basically the mastermind for the whole operation then.
Oh, mastermind is a very high pedestal to put me on. I think I might be the engine. Call me the engine.
It's fine.
I am the one who drives. So I'm the product owner for the Smarsh Central experience. I help drive the experience, and this is an underlying piece of architecture that's important to drive that experience. So I'm the engine that sort of fuels those architectural things that are required so that we can provide these services and the experience that we want.
Yeah. So, well, the taxonomy is at the center of the diagram that Amy showed us, right? So it is one of
the three: taxonomy, findability, and content. Yeah.
And we're going to align that the taxonomy not just with our content, but with how we code cases, how we code our categorize our training and our product documentation. So we'll be aligned across the board.
Yeah, which is super cool. Okay, I have two more questions to ask Amy, and then we'll get to any questions we get in the chat. So keep asking. So Amy, you had some goals, obviously, this year that you wanted to achieve, and I jumped into the futures, but we should really talk about what has been accomplished. So you had goals around increasing participation of customers, and you have a very special customer base, right? So it is difficult to entice them to come and play with you, right? Especially around the community, right?
Yeah.
And then you had this browsing thing. So how did it go? I mean, did you get more people to try the site?
We did. We had a pretty successful effort last year. We ran a lot of different, we tried a lot of different things. So it's hard to say what exactly put us over the top, or was it with everything. But we had a Teach to Fish campaign, which we worked with support analysts to, again, soft skill, mention, hey, I'm searching the knowledge base. You know, you have access to this knowledge base called Smarsh Central, you know, sending links to articles to get customers to click on the link and see what Smarsh Central has to offer. So we had campaigns like that. We worked a lot with our sales and marketing team. We gave them a positioning guide. This is how you talk about Smarsh Central. We gave them blurbs to use when they talk about Smarsh Central, so we're consistent in our messaging. So we did have success. We for new users last year, we were up 25% by the end of the year. Our return users were up 5.5%, and our registered users were up 17.5% after our efforts last year.
Mm-hmm. Which are really good numbers, right? Hoping
really
that
good
people
numbers.
come back more, right?
Yep. Never good enough. You know, it's like, okay, what have you done for me lately? So we're definitely working hard to increase that this year as well.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Last question. I don't think I can go to the end without asking a question about AI.
Yeah.
How you use AI in your website, or maybe in your future plans. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
All right. So we have Caveo. So we have you know, some learning going on there, but we're from an external perspective, we're not jumping into GPT externally just yet due to the nature of our business. But we are going to experiment internally. So we are a Salesforce shop, so we're going to be looking at their services GPT, which does work summaries. It does case summarization. And one other thing that we're looking at, what is it?
Article generation.
Oh, yeah. How could I forget that? We're a KCS shop. Article generation. So it would take this their case notes and create an article for them. And obviously, what's nice about it, it's just not going to go and publish it, right? Mm-hmm. It's always going to need human intervention to read it, make sure there isn't any PII information offered up in the article. But those are our plans right now for AI.
Yeah, I must say personally, I'm very intrigued by this possibility of automatic, document generation, because I am always surprised when I speak with, I think you call them support analysts. I was going to say support engineers, but same thing, right? When I speak to people who interact with customers every day, send emails to customers every day, they are so shy about writing. Yeah. I'm like, you write to customers every day. What's the difference? I think what comes back is the ghost of their 6th grade English teacher, right? Telling them that they did not capitalize things properly. I'm like, you do it every day. Just do it the same way. Actually, if you are more conversational, the article probably will be better, right? And will be easier to be used. Yeah, it's so hard to get people to do that. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Okay, so calling for questions on the chat. While we wait for that, I was wondering, Amy, if you would feel comfortable if you were talking to someone with, a smaller team, smaller website. What are some top few things that you would tell them to attend to that you think are really, really important, will make a big difference for them?
I think what's overlooked the most is genuinely marketing your site, and teaming up with marketing and making sure sales knows about it and talking about it. Every part of your organization should know and talk about your site with the customers. And so I really think focusing on marketing, but if they come there, they got to find what they're looking for. You got to make sure you have the content in there, that you have a good methodology, or making sure that they you're solving the customer's issue. And then lastly, I've said it a million times, if they use self-service, reward them by an easy assisted experience.
Yeah,
So
I
those are
really
the
like
three
that.
focus areas.
Really like that. One of the things that you mentioned earlier and has to do with marketing is the idea that in a way the best marketers are the support analysts and the support engineers, right? Now you've got to get them to believe in the site, which is a big if, right? But once you do that, it's so great because they're helping the customer and they say, hey, Mr. Customer, look at this document that I found, right? You could go help yourself at any time, right? Without waiting for me to respond or anything like that. It's right there. I have found that to work really, really well. But you need people to really embrace it, right? You need the team to say, yes, this is a good thing. Customers will find good stuff in there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Francoise, there's a couple of questions in the chat. Can you see them?
I will refresh. It's really weird that it's not refreshing for me, but I will refresh. Feel free to read one if you want while I do that.
Okay, I'll read the first one. It's a two-part question, and we'll see if Amy or Steve who wants to respond. So it says you recommended, this was a bit back, you recommended a channel driver based on issue or based on persona. That's the first part of the question.
Yes.
Any thoughts on that?
Exactly.
Is the answer.
Is yes the answer?
So what we want to do is we want to understand through user behavior and through our ability to resolve issues, not just resolve them, but resolve them sort of in a timely manner. Determine which channel rates over another internally for being successful and low effort. And that comes from many different things, including maybe the product that someone owns. Maybe the issues have a greater complexity or a lower complexity. The type of user who's engaging with us about a problem, and that would be their role or their persona, but along also with the sort of classification of that issue. So what kind of discipline is involved in resolving that issue? And we analyze that when we have sort of the classification terminology assigned in all of our channels, then we can do like for like comparison on buckets of issues we receive in each of these channels. And having that data will allow us to perform the analysis through which we can determine how and which channel we want to recommend for a particular type of issue.
It all starts with taxonomy, like your category, subcategory, and your knowledge, right? You're going to have some SMEs that say, hey, if they're calling about this particular issue, phone is best. Don't even take them to chat. Don't take them anywhere else. Send them right to the phone. So it's data analysis and good old common sense.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing I would add in my work with clients who are designing websites from scratch, right, is that personas and issues are kind of orthogonal concepts, right? And one of the best ways to think about it at a high level is to say, you're going to have a grid. So make sure that whatever it is that you design is going to work well, regardless of how customers are engaging. And it looks maybe complicated, but it really is not. Just think that clients are users are going to do it both ways.
So you may have answered this, and I think you did, but I'm going to ask you anyway, just so you can say, well, we already answered it, and that's okay, or you can say, no, let me say more about that. So the same person asked the first question about based on issue or persona, further said, can you say more about recommending a channel based on issue? How do you determine which channel to recommend?
I think that's what Steve was just
Yeah, we
explaining.
just covered
right?
that one.
Yeah,
I thought so.
yeah.
I just wanted to give him a chance in case you want to say any more about that.
Yeah, you really need to go look at data, right? That's the bottom line, right?
Data,
what was
data,
successful
data.
solving the problem, right? Don't guess, look at data.
So
Okay.
I will say that sometimes there are internal factors as well, right? So they weigh in too, right? Like for instance, the introduction of a bot. There might be internal factors that influence sending certain traffic through a bot, as prior to getting to a live person in a chat, instead of directly to a live person in a chat. So somewhat there is some internal influence, but largely we want it to come from the analysis of user behavior and internal resolution capacity.
Okay, and this will be the last one. I'll ask you for a short answer because we're pretty much at closing time here. Are you all, Southern person, are you all manually analyzing the year's worth of cases, or are you using tech to help interpret and bucket?
The lightning answer is manual.
Okay.
The slightly less lightning answer is I would love to use technology to be more efficient. In a smaller company with a smaller number of incoming cases and case traffic, it's easier to start manually. That's clearly not possible if you handle millions of cases a year. I think that technology would be much more helpful to generate, a recommended ontology for your terms and your term buckets coming out of the notes of cases. Yeah.
Okay, well, we are out of time. So thanks to all of you. Congratulations to Smarsh. First year in this competition, although Amy is no stranger to it. She's judged for us in the past. And also thank you to Francoise. I don't know, it was not intentional that you wound up last presenter 2 years in a row, Francoise. So it's not that I hate you. In fact,
Last is best.
You're probably my favorite person in support, but in any case, thank you for all that you do. Francoise is my cleanup hitter for the judging. She gets more backup judge assignments than any other person, probably
Right.
twice over. And I don't know how you're so fast at what you do. I guess, well, since I'm a former consultant, I kind of understand. We don't have the thousands of meetings and email to the world stuff to go through that most of your clients have to deal with. So that helps a bit, but you're still awfully quick and awfully good. So thank you, Francoise.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Congratulations to Amy and Steve. I think that's the main
Thank
thing.
you.
Well deserved.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Very
Thank
good
you.
job. Come back next year.
Yeah, please.
We'll be back.
We will be back.